Welcome back to News Center. Now, artificial intelligence is fast becoming a part of legal research. Lawyers and even judges are turning to AI to draft, research and analyze case law. But there's a growing concern. AI hallucinations, models are generating cases, judgments or legal precedents that don't actually exist. And when those errors go unchecked, they can end up in court orders, tax notices, and even legal submissions. So here are a few recent cases where those AI-related errors have been caught. In July, the Supreme Court set aside an NCLT order after finding that fake and non-existent legal precedents generated by AI had been cited. The court expressed zero tolerance for AI use without verification. In another case in the same month, the Punjab and Haryana High Court quashed a GST show cause notice that even contained an AI prompt used to prepare the legal argument. It noted the need for application of mind beyond just giving a prompt to an AI model. The Delhi High Court also flagged 6 non-existent precedents in a tax order in July. It warned that authorities relying on fabricated precedents could face disciplinary action. In March of this year, the Supreme Court raised concerns over fake case law in an order from a trial court in Andhra Pradesh. The court said that it amounted to misconduct with legal consequences. It also issued notices to the Attorney General and the Bar Council to examine the wider application. Now, this issue also surfaced in the month of January when the Bombay High Court came across fake, non-existent precedents in written submissions. The court deprecated this unchecked use of AI-generated material in legal proceedings and slapped a fine of 50,000 rupees. Well, this is clearly a growing trend. We're seeing an increasing amount of such cases come up, being faced by lawyers, being faced by judges and courts. To help us, of course, unpack this is with us Raman Aggarwal. He's the founder and CEO of Jupitice Justice Technologies. Mr. Raman, thank you so much for joining us. First question, the position that we find ourselves in, we're looking at about 5 to 6 cases being talked about, which are being talked about within the legal community. Cases being talked about, which are being talked about within the legal community where AI fake hallucinations were discovered by the courts. What about the cases where it's not checked, where it's not discovered by the courts? Is there a growing use of such technologies by lawyers, by judges themselves for drafting, for writing of judgments?
Yeah, thank you very much for these invitations. You are absolutely right. The AI today has moved from AI intelligence to AI action. So, because AI is driven by a basic principle of probability and the numbers. So they are not close to the real world realities. So they basically work on a lot of arithmetical calculations. So the output of the AI will always be a probabilistic. So now the question is, how much or how we should use the AI, especially in the justice and legal sector, where the consequences are very large, because the other area where the AI doesn't matter so much, because this is up to your option. So now what we feel, because of so much of experience into now the justice technology, the AI should not be used just like an AI. There basically, now there is a structural gap in the AI, and that structural gap is the trust, because the AI would always give you a probabilistic output. So you have to build up the trust infrastructure around that application or around that solution. So because the AI native company or the lab, they basically focus on engineering side, they basically focus on the AI side, but the user has to, go for the another level, another layer around that infrastructure, so that output of AI can become trustworthy. So like in Jupitice, we have created a trust infrastructure, the first time in the world, and which are almost ready now. So this is
Aggarwal, now, from my conversations with lawyers, what I'm picking up is that this is something and technology that does make their job a lot easier when it comes to drafting, when it comes to research. What I want to ask is, what is the kind of perhaps institutional checks that are required at the level of, say, perhaps the High Courts or the Supreme Court to institute some degree of responsibility and accountability when it comes to these hallucinations?
No, see, the hallucination or the biases are just part of the AI. The point of not the hallucination. The point is even the output of the AI does it mean, like, say, for example, you said that the fake judgments. So now the fake judgments, there has to be a trust procedure before that case judgment is mentioned in the petition. There has to be whether this case exists, whether the citations are correct, whether paragraphs support that summaries, none has been overruled. This has to be in place before it is mentioned in the petition, or before it goes to the honorable judges to evaluate it. So that infrastructure has to be before this is acted upon. So that without this infrastructure, this kind of problems, especially in the knowledge sector, in the justice and legal sector, will keep growing.
Let me also ask you another perspective. From some of the cases that we've seen, there are also AI-generated GST notices being issued, AI-generated submissions being made by the Income Tax Department. Is that a growing concern? And does that call for perhaps an overall, an umbrella approach when it comes to forming some kind of regulation over the deployment of AI, especially for legal functions?
Yes, there are two ways. One, the regulation has to be for the introduction of the trust infrastructure at the vendor level, because you are using an application which has been built up, some of the vendor or some of the company. So there has to be a regulation where they should introduce the trust infrastructure when they are building the solution around the AI. Because so that is what need to be regulated. Just having a blind AI application, because AI today is without a language barrier, it is without an age barrier, it is without a skill barrier. Everything is stick to that. So there has to be regulation to introduce the trust infrastructure.
There has to be regulation.
Yeah.
We're running out of time, Mr. Aggarwal, so I'll come to you for a quick final question. Break it down for us. If there is an AI-generated submission that is put forth before a court by a lawyer, which has fake or non-existent legal precedents, and then those very same precedents are employed by the court as a part of the order, who would you hold accountable? Is it the judge's fault or is it the lawyer's fault for not ensuring authenticity of the submissions?
No, that is a fault at both the side, because see, when you are relying upon an AI, so there has to be some check and balances before it is being introduced in any of the document which is presented to the court. Yeah.
Well, interesting, and I'm sure we'll have more of these questions to come up as more and more submissions are being made before the High Courts and the Supreme Court that are assisted by AI. Whether or not there is human verification, that, of course, is something that the courts are seeking to do. The CJI, the Chief Justice of India himself, has expressed a grave deal of concern on unchecked and unmitigated deployment of AI. I'd like to thank our panelist, Mr. Raman Aggarwal, for sharing your insight as well as your time with us. But that, unfortunately, is all the time that we have on this edition of News Center. It's a wrap on this edition. More news and updates will continue right here.